Fox News alert moments ago, Trump addressing the illegal immigration crisis facing our country. The president taking aim at Democrats and blaming them for the laws that enable the problem.
We will not allow our generosity to be abused by those who would break our laws, defy our rules, violate our borders, break into our country illegally. We won't allow it. The laws are so bad. They're not archaic. They're incompetent. It's not that they're old. They're just bad. And we can't get any Democrat votes to change them. It's only the Republicans that are in unison. They want to change them.
The hot button issue the last couple of weeks has been the migrant caravan headed towards the United States. Trump once again vowing to stop it.
At this very moment, large, well-organized caravans of migrants are marching toward our southern border. Some people call it an invasion. It's like an invasion. These are tough people in many cases. A lot of young men, strong men, and a lot of men that maybe we don't want in our country. But again, we'll find that out through the legal process. But these illegal caravans will not be allowed into the United States. And they should turn back now, because they're wasting their time. They should apply to come into our country. We want them to come into our country.
The president also saying he'll crack down on meritless claims for asylum.
My administration is finalizing a plan to end the rampant abuse of our asylum system. Under this plan, the illegal aliens will no longer get a free pass into our country by lodging meritless claims in seeking asylum. Instead, migrants seeking asylum will have to present themselves lawfully at a port of entry. So they're going to have to lawfully present themselves at a port of entry.
Okay, Juan, two issues here. Because of the laws in this country, they treat people from Central America different than they treat people from Canada or Mexico. So if you come with a child and you're from a Central American country and you cross the border, and if you say you're fleeing violence, they will immediately accept you into this country and release you into this country because of the laws. Do you think that the system is being gamed by people who, there's lawyers down there telling them what to say right before they cross? Would you make any changes to the illegal immigration problem at all?
Yeah, well, I mean, if you want to make a change with regard to the asylum rules, I guess that's up to us as the American people, and we can do that at any time.
The Democrats can help with that.
Yeah, I mean, it's the Republicans who have failed in the 2 years they've been there with Trump. But yes, you're right. Democrats are willing to help, and I think they've been willing to help when we had packages for comprehensive immigration reform that were defeated by Republicans in Congress. But what we're seeing here, I just find this kind of like, is this bizarre? Is this Halloween still? I mean, the Republicans can't talk about the economy or taxes, apparently, so they start a culture war and demonize these poor people who are stragglers, who are thousands of miles away from the border and don't have any weapons. Oh, we're going to have our military. I mean, Trump is creating a photo opportunity to spur Republican turnout. It is so transparent. And I just got to think, are people that stupid that they are just going to fall for this time after time after time?
Well, I don't think the president was the one that started the caravan. You had a caravan crisis on the border during the Obama administration. He chose to handle it one way. The president, Morgan, is choosing to handle it differently. There was a crisis.
No, I'm saying there's no crisis now.
Okay, I believe there is a crisis. Do you believe there's no crisis, Morgan?
No, I see. I think the caravan is really, it's missing the forest for the trees. When you look at it, the caravan to me is more symbolic of the immigration fight. And the fact that there's many Americans, when you look at the polling on this, why is the president bringing this up? Because when you look at Republican voters, this is at the top of their list, including health care. And so, I think that people in general are frustrated that the Republicans have made no progress on this. I mean, the president campaigned on the wall. He's gotten some money for the wall, but he hasn't been able to get everything that he wants. So for me, the caravan is just a larger representation of frustration at our government for not solving the problem. And that's why he's bringing it up. It's a political winner for him.
Right. And the timing a week before and a big White House speech and took a few questions, Dana.
Well, the president didn't start the caravan, right? It's not his problem. It's not his fault that the caravan started a month before the election and as they march closer, even though I know they're thousands of miles away or 1,000 miles away. Like, he didn't start that. So the visuals, like, that was not of his creation. Like, he didn't make this up out of whole cloth. This is actually happening, and you can see it every day. There's the picture today of the 4-year-old girl who was so exhausted, she just refused to go any farther. Okay, so that's a humanitarian problem. Again, not his fault. And he's trying to figure out a way to do something with it. He told them, go back. But I think that maybe he could go a step further, and I don't think it'll happen now, but he chose the Roosevelt Room for the speech for a reason. He didn't have a bunch of people behind him. He wasn't at a campaign rally. He did it in the Roosevelt Room where you decide policy. So he's saying, like, this is a policy that we have to deal with. I think the speech could have been a little shorter, maybe, but this is what he was saying. I also feel like it is clear that we need an orderly process to figure out how do you separate economic migrants from people who are really in need of asylum. My concern about the pushing asylum seekers, honest to goodness people with integrity that have the need for asylum, to push them to a port of entry is that they might be so desperate that they can't get there. I think that you can tell the difference between somebody who wants to have a better life and the chance to live in America versus somebody who is really desperately fleeing violence from their government.
Could you migrate to a port of entry, or does it have to?
You might be able to, or you might be able to do it. I think a lot of this stuff has actually handled at the embassy level in other places overseas. The last thing I would say is that I feel like we need to do something to solve the problem at its source. Capitalism is the answer. And I think if the president could do something, whatever happens in the midterms, who cares? He's president for the next 2 years. He's running for re-election. What could he do that would be big and different? What about like a Marshall Plan type thing for a very neglected part of the world? Latin America, Central America, South America. Why not do something big and bold to reintroduce capitalism, something like generational that would have a lasting impact that would go along with not just the border security, but try to bring people together and say, if we want to take care of this region and protect our own borders, let's do something that will actually make a difference. And it would be that.
And USAID Administrator Mark Green is doing exactly what Dana is talking about. He's trying to reform USAID, which we've been giving to these Central American countries, which by many definitions meet a failed state status. And it's not just the U.S.-Mexican border. We're seeing the same thing happen in the failed state of Venezuela. Thousands of migrants a day of people fleeing Venezuela going to the Colombian border. So we should be looking at this similarly to how we look at failed states in the Middle East that we've worked on for so many years, looking at the failed states in Central America. I totally agree with you, and I think Mark Green at USAID has a great plan for this.
All right, Greg, what do you think?
I think that a lot of these problems are due to how the media positions these issues. Number one, Juan brings up the fact that no one's talking about the economy. That's because the economy is effing great right now. You're going to have 3.5% to 4% growth, full unemployment, wages are soaring. We just found out today. But the media doesn't like to talk about planes that land safely. They can only report on planes that crash. So good news about the economy, mysteriously, is no news on the other networks. We try to talk about it here, but it's often ignored because it's such good news. Now, let's talk about immigration. Donald Trump had to set the whole issue up at the beginning as a strain on the system. The reason is that the media believes you can only hold two positions. You can either say, we are a nation of immigrants, or it's a nation under siege. But the fact is, human beings hold a portfolio of positions regarding everything like immigration. You can hold a bunch of different positions on crime. Right? I could be for the death penalty, but think that drugs should be legalized. You can have a portfolio of interests about climate. You can believe that there's climate change, but the policies are wrong. But the activist media bans nuance so that you can, like, if you feel for strong immigration, you want people to come here, but you want to tighten up the loopholes. That doesn't work for the media. That doesn't compute. They need to have you in your own box. And it's so infuriating because I am for strong immigration. I want people to come here. President Trump said he wants people to come here. But in his brain, he knows, like everybody who is immersed in this kind of like law and order criteria that you keep in your brain, that there has to be a system. And that system enables you to have a portfolio of beliefs. Unfortunately, the media cannot handle that because they're stupid.
Well, I just wanted to quickly say that it's not just the media. You look at the ads, and there's a ton of ads right now going into the weekend, and the ads run by the Republicans are not talking about the economy, Greg, because it's not gaining traction with the voters as a persuasive
And that's a problem.
And the second thing I would say is, but look at the ad that is being run, the one that the president retweeted that has like some Mexican guy who shot I think it was a law enforcement officer saying, "Oh, I'm coming back, I'm going to kill more." I mean, you think, my God, this is Willie Horton all over again, when in fact we know from the numbers that in fact people who are here illegally have a lower rate of violent crime than people who are native born.
Was it wrong to point out that Willie Horton was a furloughed killer?
Yeah,
was that wrong?
No. I think.
I mean, are you on the side of Willie Horton?
No, I'm on the side of not playing to racial antagonisms in the society.
No, that's about
and
crime.
I'm on the side of not
That's about
saying,
crime and
oh,
safety, not
George
race.
Soros.
You're
might
seeing
be
race. You're seeing race.
Oh,
Nobody's seeing race here.
Nobody saw race in Willie Horton.
No, that was a furloughed killer.
Are you kidding me?
That was a furloughed killer.
Willie
You're
Horton?
seeing race. I'm not.
Oh my
I'm
God.
seeing a furloughed killer.
We are a colorblind show, everybody.